So if you want predictable revenue, then you're going to need predictable demand mix. And what I mean is you want to have a good mix between your lead sources because, say, for example, you have a very high Facebook, Instagram, a lot of your leads are coming from Facebook and Instagram, and then say they change their algorithm like they just did with the Andromeda, then you might lose all of your leads or they get super expensive. And that can pretty much go for any of these categories outside of baby referral. Uh, with that being said, the way that we create this is we need to look at the data set here. And what you'll notice, this is a very in-depth data set. I have, multiple HVAC clients, so I help them do this type of stuff. So you're not gonna need this much data. It's good if you have it, obviously, but the main thing we're gonna need is the date the lead came in and where they came from. And with just those two things, we can calculate this KPI. But the more data you have, the more ways you can slice and dice this. So, like, for example, we have this by lead source and by month. But if you want to do lead source and campaign, or lead source and location, lead source and zip, lead source and job type, lead source and customer type, like all that can be done. I'm just doing the one that is going to be maybe most valuable at a surface level, but to get more granular, you can do this a lot of different ways. And also, once learning how to do this, you'll just change. So if you want to do the dates, but you don't want to do the lead source for another metric, you could do it by job type, right? You could do it by customer service rep. Depending on how your leads are coming in. If you have a lot of SDRs on the phones, then you might want to look at this by SDRs rather than by Facebook. But again, a secondary way of looking at it, not the primary way. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to get a unique list of this here. And the way we do that is by stripping out the month and the year from the lead date. And so also, if you want this file, there's a link to download it. If you can't find it, shoot me an email. I'll give you my email here at the end of the video. So equals text, and then go to the date, wherever your date is. You can do either one of these. If you have a timestamp on your lead, which you probably do if you have the integration set up properly, but you can use that or this, because what we want is just the 4 M's. So equals text, go to the date cell, the cell with the date in it, and then comma, and then 4 M's. And then for year, pretty much the same formula, or it is the same formula. The difference is we're going to do 4 Y's instead of 4 N's. And you get that just like this. And so that I just wanted to show you how to do it. We don't need it because we already have it. I just wanted to show you the formulas. And also, this is in a table, so you notice the formula of autofill down. If your data is not in a table, just put your cursor anywhere in the table or in the data set, and then press Control T. I can't do it because it's already in a table. But say you had data that looks like this, press Control T, the dialog box will open, then you can click on, my table has headers, if it does. And then now what you'll notice up here, you see help, but when you click on the table, you have all the functionality of the table. Okay. So this table is named Table Leads. And so the benefit is that now that we know that, we can easily do a lot of these formulas. And so, but the first thing we need a unique list in chronological order of the month of the year. So January 2025, February 2025, March, April, May, June, July, and then January 2026. And so equals unique, and then just highlight these. Why is that? That is so weird. Yeah, highlight those two. And then you can press enter. And now you can see that here. I'm going to copy this, and then I'm going to press Control Shift V to paste it because I don't want the formula there anymore. I just want the values. And then here I'll just put date, and then we want to equal this and quotation space that quotations, and that way we can get an easy sort of date here. There's another way you could do it. You can use the EL1 function in the other cells. But okay, so the next thing we want is a unique list of the channel, right, of the source of the lead. And so what I'll do here, I'm going to show you 3 functions in this formula. So equals unique, table leads, open a bracket, and then we want channel, close your bracket, and close your parentheses or your parentheses. And now we have this here. But I want to sort this alphabetically. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do sort. And then now we have it alphabetically. And then finally, the third function is I want the names to be across here. So transpose. So transpose, then you have your, bracket, sort, bracket, unique, bracket, table, bracket, channel, bracket, right? And then, but once you do that, you have everything across here. And then again, I'm going to copy this and then Control-Shift-V to paste. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we just want to count the number of leads from Angie for January versus the total number of leads for January and 2025. So count Angie if January, count Angie if 2025. So that function is called the COUNTIF function, but we need COUNTIFS because it's more than one criteria. So, and the sequencing here doesn't matter. You can start with the month, you can start with the year, you can start with the channel, whatever you want to do. So COUNTIFS. So we want the table. I'll just start with channel. Channel is this, comma, again, table, and then we know the month, comma, is here, comma, and then table, and then year, comma, the last part, and then here. Okay, so we had 11 leads. So now that's the numerator, right? That's because we want the percentage of total leads for that month and year. And so that's the numerator. So what would be on the denominator? So on the denominator, because this is a table of every lead, on the denominator, we just need a count of the month and the year, right? So like we just need to have this count here, which is 260, right? So about 10 leads a day. So we need this divided by, so equals this divided by, and then here, I'll show you. You can just copy this whole formula and then just strip out the part you don't. So this divided by the same formula, but just strip out the leads chain, because we don't care about Angie in this scenario. We want the denominator, the bottom of the fraction, to be all the leads combined. So it's this right here, and now you get this percentage. Press Control-Shift and the number 5. Okay, so now we want to drag this down, drag this over, but what you'll notice is that as you drag it down, this is also coming down. Whereas you drag this over, you can see sort of a little bit, this is coming over. So we need to tell Excel, like, hey, as we drag this down, we don't want this to change, but we do want this to change, right? We do want this to go to January or to February 2025. But we don't want Angie to become 4% because it's looking up the 4% inside of the channel column. So we don't want that. So what we need to do is called absolute referencing. So wherever you see the row that you want to lock, like up here, just put a $sign before the number, after the letter, before the number, because numbers are rows in Excel. And anywhere you see the column that you want to lock, January, which means as you go down, it does go down, but as you go over, the column is locked. Put the $sign before the letter, right? And then B3 is here. And then one last thing, if you copy and paste, it works, but if you drag, it doesn't. And that's because that's the nature of tables. You'll see channel here is changing to source type. But the way around that is pretty straightforward. Just copy, and then paste. And then you have everything. Okay, so 2 more things we want to do. We want to get, because we want to have a secondary axis that shows the count of the leads, we want to have, just say, total leads. And the way we do this, pretty straightforward, is we just have to take the denominator of that fraction, right? So this is just counting the number of rows for January 2025, but because every row is a separate lead, that is the proper count. Okay, so finally what we're going to do is we're going to highlight everything here, and then we're going to go to Insert, And then from here, we're going to go to recommended charts. And you're not going to see anything you like. But if you go to all charts, combo, then you don't see it, but I'll show you how to find it or how to create it. So for any of the lead sources, you want this right here. You want a stacked column because it's going to put them all so we can see. I think it autofill stacked column. Organic search, we want stacked column. Keep going. And then for leads, we want a line. But the problem is you'll see the line because it's 260. That's why that's all you see, because everything else is 4%, 11%. So you're getting 0.26 on an axis that is, 500. So where you see total leads, make sure it's line, then click secondary axis. And then everything makes sense. It's going to be super noisy. Don't worry, I'm gonna fix all this. So from here, what we want is we want to call this, we can say, what do we call it? We call it leads by channel by month. We call it, say, lead percent by channel by. Okay, so what I did in the other chart, because this is a little bit noisy, right? Like it's a little bit sort of, I don't want to say hard to understand. Maybe you like it this way. But if you want to, you can just change this, take it down maybe only for 2026. And it makes it just a little bit easier to understand. And then let's change the color of this. We can double click on here, click the little paint bucket, and we can make it a different color here. And then the thing you might want is the number of leads in general. And so what you could do, if you click here, you'll see a crosshair. And if you go to data labels, but the problem is it's super noisy, right? It doesn't really show you, like there's too many numbers going on. So what I want to do it at the line level, show the data labels here. Don't worry, I want to show you a couple little tricks. But the first one is I want to make this bigger. Let's do it this way. And then for the values, click on the values, go to home, and you can increase them a little bit. And then also a cool little trick is make sure you can see all the little boxes. And then you could, if you choose a color here, you can now put the color in the background to make the numbers, a lot easier to see. It could be bold. And then to get the percentage breakdown, you can see it here, or you could just hover over, put your mouse over anything and it'll automatically show it. But anyways, so that's how you do lead percent, lead breakdown by channel by month. And so if you have any questions, boards.io. If you want this data source link, there's a link you can download. If you're coming here from the book, then shoot me an email. But in the book, there's a download link to every file for all the KPIs in the book. And also, if you need some help structuring your data like this, shoot me an email, or there's going to be a link to top of my calendar. But anyways, that's all I got for this one, and I'll see you in future videos.